The iron chain around Seraya's wrists was still warm from the Dragon King's hand when the night wolves dragged her across the treaty floor. She did not look back at him. Not once. The moon hall of Blackmere had no ceiling, only jagged stone ribs opening to a sky full of cold silver light. Wolf banners hung on one side. Dragon shields lined the other. Between them, a blood-red treaty table waited like an altar. Seraya walked toward it with 2 wolf guards holding her chains. The dragon court watched without pity. A few noble women stepped back when she passed. One dragon lord touched the charm at his throat. Another turned his cup away before her shadow could cross it. No one said the word curse, but Seraya felt it in every careful breath around her. Her mark had started burning the moment she entered wolf territory. A black crescent beneath her collarbone, hidden under torn gray cloth, pulsing hotter with every step. She kept her shoulders straight. If they wanted a trembling sacrifice, they should have chosen someone who had not already spent years learning how to bleed quietly. At the head of the treaty table stood Dragon King Caelum Draven. Black armor, ash gold cloak, dark hair drawn back from a face too still to be merciful. His amber eyes rested on her for half a second, then moved away as if she were part of the price already paid. That hurt more than the chain. Lord Varric stood beside him, thin and silver-bearded, holding the treaty scroll with both hands. He had argued for this sale for weeks. Seraya had heard his voice through closed council doors. Keep her near the king, and the dragon blood weakens. Send her to the wolves, and the court survives. But Seraya had also heard the part he said more softly. If Caelum falls, the council must guide the throne. Varric had not sold her only to protect the kingdom. He had sold her to protect his own hand on its throat. The Night Wolf commander stopped Seraya before the moon dais. Kneel, he said. The dragon court waited. The wolf court waited. Seraya lowered herself slowly, chains scraping against the stone. But she did not bow her head. A small silence followed that choice. Caelum's fingers tightened once at his side. Only once. Varric leaned toward him. Do not soften now, your majesty. Peace requires clean hands. Caelum's jaw flexed. My hands are not clean, he said quietly. But he did not move. Varric raised the treaty scroll. The Dragon Court delivers Seraya of the Ash Towers to the Night Wolves as living bond. By this offering, Flame and Fang will hold peace. Offering, Seraya almost smiled. They had finally found a prettier word for being sold. The wolves did not cheer. They watched her with pale, unreadable eyes. Their silence was worse than mockery. It felt like judgment passed by creatures who already knew she did not belong to either side. Then the floor trembled. A sound rolled up from beneath the moon dais. Deep, slow, ancient enough to make every torch bend blue. The night wolves lowered their heads at once. Even the commanders stepped back. Behind the dais, a gate of black iron and white bone opened without being touched. 2 enormous silver eyes appeared in the dark. The moonbeast stepped into the hall. It was larger than any wolf should be. Its body formed from silver fur, black smoke, frost, and old scars. Pale antlers curved from its skull. Moonlight clung to its back like a living mantle. Broken dragon chains hung around its neck, each link carved with runes no priest dared read aloud. Every wolf knelt. Every dragon reached for a weapon. Caelum remained standing. This was the true treaty test. Seraya understood it then. She was only the offering. The beast was meant to scent the Dragon King, accept his blood, and prove the alliance had teeth. The moon beast turned its head toward Caelum. The hall stopped breathing. Caelum's eyes flashed with low dragon fire. For one moment, he looked every inch the king who could make enemies kneel by standing still. Then the beast looked away. A ripple moved through the wolves first. Not sound. Shock. The commander's face tightened. One of the wolf elders whispered something under his breath and took a step back from the dais. On the dragon side, Varric's grip crushed the edge of the treaty scroll. Caelum did not move, but Seraya saw the change in him. A flicker in his eyes. A warning he understood before anyone else did. The moon beast turned toward her. Seraya's mark burned so violently she nearly folded over. She clenched her chained hands in her lap and forced herself to stay upright. The beast took one step. The stone frosted beneath its paw. Another step. The dragon guards shifted. Uncertain whether to defend their king or fear what the beast had chosen to see. The Night Wolf commander moved in front of Seraya. No. The beast passed him as if he were nothing. Seraya could hear her own breathing now. Too fast. Too thin. Beneath the pain in her mark, something pulled at her an ache, older than fear. It felt like wings beating under dark water, like a wolf howling from inside a dragon's chest. The beast stopped before her. Its shadow covered her completely. Seraya wanted to move back. There was nowhere to go. Its enormous head lowered until its breath warmed the chain around her wrists. Frost bloomed over the iron. The links cracked. Caelum stepped forward. Varric caught his arm. Your Majesty. The leather of Caelum's glove split under his own tightening fist. For a heartbeat, Seraya saw it on his face. Not regret yet. Not tenderness. But the first violent understanding that the thing he had feared in her was not a weakness to remove. It was a truth he had handed to his enemies. The chain broke. Both halves fell onto the treaty floor. No one touched her. The moon beast bent one knee, then the other. Its massive head lowered until its brow touched the stone before Seraya. The ancient beast of the night wolves knelt. Not to Caelum, not to the treaty. To her. The black crescent beneath Seraya's collarbone split open with silver-blue light. It burned through the cloth, forming the shape of a dragon wing wrapped around a wolf moon. The night wolf commander staggered back. Night dragon bond, he whispered. The words cut through the hall. Varric went pale. Caelum went still. Seraya looked at him then. Really looked. At the king who had sold her because he feared what she might awaken in him. At the man who had chosen a treaty over the woman whose chains still carried the heat of his hand. Her voice came out low, shaking, and sharp enough to wound. You did not sell me because I was cursed. Caelum's dragon fire dimmed. Seraya rose slowly as the moon beast remained kneeling at her feet. You sold me because you were afraid I belonged to you. The hall fell silent. Then, something inside Caelum's armor answered her mark, with a dying dragon's roar. The dying roar inside Caelum's armor silenced both courts. It was not loud enough to shake the hall, yet every wolf heard it. Every dragon felt it. The sound came from beneath his breastplate, beneath his ribs. From somewhere, blood and fire had been buried too long. Seraya saw his face change. Only for a heartbeat. The Dragon King who had sold her vanished, and behind him stood a man in pain. Then his mask returned. Take her away from the beast, Varric ordered. No one moved. The Night Wolf commander looked at the moon beast still kneeling before Seraya and wisely kept his hands at his sides. Varric turned sharply to the dragon guards. Did you not hear me? A guard stepped forward. The moon beast lifted its head. The guard stopped. Seraya remained standing with the broken chain at her feet, the silver-blue mark still glowing beneath her torn cloth. The light did not feel like power. It felt like exposure. Like something private had been ripped open in front of enemies who now wanted to decide what she was worth. Caelum's eyes dropped to the mark. Dragon wing. Wolf moon. His jaw tightened again. Seraya hated that she noticed. Hated that even now, after he had handed her over like a sealed letter, part of her still wanted to know whether fear or regret lived behind his silence. The Night Wolf commander recovered first. He bowed not deeply, not warmly, but with the stiffness of a man forced to respect what terrified him. The beast has chosen, he said. Varric's voice cut across the hall. A beast does not rewrite a treaty. No, the commander said. But ours decides whether treaties live. The wolves murmured in approval. The dragon lords shifted uneasily. Seraya understood the danger at once. A moment ago, she had been payment. Now she was leverage. The wolves had not gained a cursed woman. They had gained whatever made their ancient beast kneel. And Caelum had given her to them with his own hand. Varric leaned close to the king. His voice was low, but the hall had grown too quiet. Seraya heard every word. End this before they claim her. Say the mark is false. Say she was sent as a test. Deny her, and we can still leave with the alliance intact. Caelum did not answer. Varric's tone hardened. Your blood is failing. You know it. If the wolves understand what she is, they will own the one thing that can pull your dragon back from death. There it was. The truth beneath the treaty. Caelum's dragon blood was dying. Seraya stared at him. All the coldness, all the distance, all the times he had looked at her like a door he refused to open. He had known something in her, answered something in him. He had feared it enough to send her away. A sharp laugh almost escaped her, but she swallowed it. No. She would not give either court the pleasure of watching her break. The moon beast rose slowly and turned, placing its massive body between Seraya and the dragon court. Frostfire spread beneath its paws. The night wolf commander straightened. By old moon law, he said, the chosen one enters Blackmere under beast protection. Seraya looked at him. Protection? Her voice sounded strange in the hall. Too calm. Too tired. The commander's eyes flicked to her mark. Until we understand what you are. That was not protection. That was a cage with better manners. Caelum stepped forward. The moon beast growled. The sound rolled through Seraya's bones. Not warning her. Warning him. Caelum stopped just beyond the beast's reach. His gaze found Seraya's over the silver fur and black smoke. You will not be harmed, he said. Seraya stared at him. The words struck wrong. After the chain. After the treaty. After his hand passing her to his enemies. You do not get to promise safety after selling me into danger. A few wolf elders looked away. Caelum absorbed the blow without flinching, but the dragonfire in his eyes flickered once. Varric moved fast to repair the damage. She forgets her place. The woman is still property of the treaty. Seraya turned her head slowly toward him. The moon beast's ears flattened. Varric saw it and stepped back half a pace, but not enough to look afraid. She is unstable, he continued. The mark proves nothing except contamination. Dragon blood and wolf magic were never meant to mix. That bond ended because it should have ended. The mark at Seraya's chest burned colder. The moon beast snarled, and for the first time Seraya felt something through it. Not words. Memory. A moonlit battlefield. Dragons falling from black skies. Wolves dying under ash. A woman standing between them with silver-blue fire in her hands, weeping as both sides called her traitor. Then the vision vanished. Seraya swayed. The beast shifted closer, supporting her without touching. Caelum noticed. What did it show you? His voice had changed. Lower now. Less king. More man. Seraya hated that too. Before she could answer, Varric snapped his fingers at the dragon priests. Bind the mark before it spreads. Two priests stepped forward with ash gold cuffs. Caelum's hand shot out and caught one priest by the wrist. The movement was so sudden every weapon in the hall lifted. The priest froze. Caelum did not look at him. His eyes remained on Seraya. No bindings. Varric went still. The words had cost Caelum something. Seraya saw it in the way his breathing changed, in the faint tremor beneath his armor, in the dying roar that whispered once more under his ribs. The king had almost protected her. Almost. But almost did not erase the chain. The Nightwolf commander stepped between them. The treaty is sealed. She comes with us. Caelum's face hardened. The treaty did not include a night dragon bond. No, the commander said. It included her. The wolves began to move. Seraya felt the hall shifting again, swallowing her into a new kind of captivity. The moon beast turned toward a dark archway leading deeper into Blackmere. The wolves expected her to follow. She looked once at Caelum, not for permission, for accountability. If your dragon is dying, she said, then remember this moment when it takes its last breath. Caelum's eyes flashed. Varric whispered something to him, urgent and poisonous. Seraya turned away before she could see whether the king listened. She walked beside the moon beast into the black arch. Behind her, the treaty hall filled with whispers, but one sound cut through them all. A dragon's roar beneath Caelum's armor. Weaker now. Desperate. And this time, Seraya's mark answered it with pain. The black arch swallowed Seraya before the treaty hall finished whispering her name. Beyond it, Blackmere changed. The moon hall had been built for courts, treaties, and lies spoken under silver light. But the passage beneath it belonged to older things. The walls were raw mountain stone, wet with frost, carved with claw marks too large to be made by any living wolf. Moonwater ran in narrow channels along the floor, glowing pale blue where it touched Seraya's broken chains. The moon beast walked beside her, not ahead. Not behind. Beside. The night wolves noticed. Their commander noticed most of all. He kept glancing from the beast to Seraya as if trying to decide whether to guard her, fear her, or kneel again before anyone else saw. Seraya said nothing. Her mark still burned beneath her torn dress. But the pain had changed. It no longer felt like a wound. It felt like a door being struck from the other side. Each time the distant roar under Caelum's armor echoed in her memory, the mark answered with a pulse. Dragon. Wolf. Dragon. Wolf. She pressed one hand over it and walked faster. The commander's voice came from her left. Do not touch the mark. Seraya looked at him. Why? His mouth tightened. That was answer enough. They did not know what it would do. Good. She was tired of being the only frightened one. The passage opened into a vast cavern called the Moon Kennel, though no kennel should have been large enough to hold a forest. Black pine roots broke through the ceiling. Silver moss covered the stone. Pools of moonwater reflected a sky that was not visible underground. Wolves moved between the shadows, not soldiers now, but beasts huge, pale, scarred, and silent. Every one of them turned toward Seraya. The moon beast stopped. So did she. A line of wolf elders waited beside a circular pool at the center of the cavern. Their hair was white, their cloaks black, their faces marked with old moon ash. At their feet lay broken dragon chains, arranged like offerings. One elder stepped forward. Her eyes were blind and silver. The beast has brought her. The commander bowed his head. It chose her before both courts. The blind elder lifted her face toward Seraya. No. It remembered her. A chill moved over Seraya's skin. I have never been here. No, the elder said. But your bond has. Seraya almost laughed. My bond? Until a few moments ago, I was a curse the dragon court wanted far enough away to breathe easier. The moon beast gave a low sound beside her. The elder's expression did not change. Dragons call what they fear a curse. Wolves call what they lost a ghost. Neither name changes blood. Seraya looked at the pool. Its surface was still. But beneath it, something silver-blue moved like a wing beneath ice. The commander stepped closer. Elder Mera. We should bind her until the council gathers. The moon beast turned its head. The commander stopped speaking. Elder Mera raised one hand. No chains in this chamber. Seraya's wrists ached at the word. The elder heard the shift in her breathing. You have worn enough of them. The kindness, if that was what it was, did not comfort Seraya. Kindness from strangers could become another leash if a person needed something badly enough. What do you want from me? She asked. The elders exchanged no looks. Yet the silence between them changed. Elder Myra answered, the truth beneath your mark. And after that, if the stories are true, the elder said, you may be the only bridge left between dragon blood and moonbeast. Seraya's mouth went dry. A bridge. A treaty price. A curse. A tool. Always a word that made her useful to someone else. She stepped back. The moonbeast shifted with her, not blocking her retreat. Only moving so the wolves could not close in. Elder Mera noticed. A faint smile touched her mouth. It guards your choice. Seraya looked at the massive creature beside her. Choice. The word felt unfamiliar. Before she could answer, the moonwater pool began to tremble. Not from her, from something far above. A roar moved through the mountain. This one was not in memory. It came through stone. The wolves lifted their heads. Seraya felt Caelum's dragon blood screaming again, weaker than before. Torn open by distance and pride, and whatever sickness Varric had used to keep him failing. Her mark blazed. She doubled over. The moonbeast snarled and pressed its great head near her shoulder, not touching, only steadying the air around her. The commander looked toward the passage. The Dragon King should be leaving by now. Elder Mera's face darkened. He is not leaving. Another roar shook the cavern. This time, it broke. Not like a beast calling for war. Like something dying. Seraya gripped the edge of the moonwater pool until her fingers numbed. She hated him. She wanted to hate him cleanly. He had sold her. Let the court name her dangerous. Let Varric make her into peace with wrists and iron. He had chosen kingdom over conscience and called it duty. But the sound inside the mountain pulled at the same place her mark did. The same place that had answered the moon beast. The elder leaned closer. If you go to him now, you go because you choose it. Not because dragons sold you. Not because wolves claimed you. Seraya breathed hard through the pain. Then a third roar came. This one ended in silence. Her mark turned cold. The moon beast reared back and howled. All the wolves in the cavern answered, and the sound struck the stone like mourning. Seraya lifted her head. What happened? Elder Mara turned toward the passage. Someone has forced his dragon blood open. The commander's face went grim. Varric. The name moved through Seraya like a blade. Of course. If Caelum's dragon was failing, and Seraya was the only thing that answered it, then Varric could not allow either of them to leave Blackmere whole. The moonwater pool lit beneath Seraya's hands. In its surface, an image formed. Caelum on his knees in the treaty hall. Varric standing before him with an ash-gold dagger pressed beneath the king's armor, not killing him, but carving into the place where dragon blood lived. Dragon lords watched in horror. Night wolves held the exits. And Varric whispered, "If the cursed woman is the key to your blood, then I will make sure she opens it too late." Seraya's breath stopped. Caelum's eyes lifted in the vision. Somehow, impossibly, they found hers through the water. Not commanding. Not asking. Only knowing. Seraya straightened. The moon beast lowered itself beside her, offering its back. The entire cavern went still. The commander stared. No outsider rides the moon beast. Seraya stepped toward it. Then it should have chosen someone else. She climbed onto the beast's back, gripping silver fur with shaking hands. Elder Mara stepped aside. The moon beast turned toward the passage, claws striking sparks from stone. Seraya looked once into the glowing pool, where Caelum's dragonfire flickered closer to death. Then she said the first command that had ever felt like her own. "Take me to him." The moon beast launched into the dark. The moon beast carried Seraya through Blackmere like a storm given claws. Stone corridors blurred around her. Frostfire burst beneath the beast's paws, lighting the dark in flashes of silver and blue. The night wolves ran behind them, but none could match its speed. Their howls chased her through the mountain, warning every guard, every elder, every hidden thing that the ancient beast had chosen to run for a woman the dragons had sold. Seraya held on with both hands buried in its silver fur. Her mark burned colder now. Not hot. Cold. That frightened her more. Heat meant pain. Cold felt like absence. Like whatever thread had begun to pull between her and Caelum was thinning, fraying, preparing to snap. She bent low over the beast's neck. Faster. The beast snarled and leapt down a stairwell without touching half the steps. Moonlight followed them where no moon should reach. In the treaty hall above, chaos waited. The doors burst open before the beast struck them. It slammed into the moon hall with Seraya on its back, scattering wolf guards and dragon soldiers alike. Every weapon turned toward her. Every face froze. Seraya saw none of them first. She saw Caelum. The Dragon King was on one knee beside the blood-red treaty table. One hand braced against the stone. The other clawed over his chest as if trying to hold his own heart inside his body. Black dragon fire leaked through the seams of his armor. His amber eyes had gone almost dark. Lord Varric stood before him with an ash-gold dagger in his hand. The blade was buried beneath Caelum's breastplate. Not deep enough to kill quickly, deep enough to open the dying dragon blood. Seraya slid from the moon beast's back before anyone could stop her. The beast landed beside her and lowered its antlered head, growling. Varric turned. For the first time, his calm broke. "You should have remained below." Seraya walked forward. "You should have killed him before I arrived." The hall went silent. The words surprised even her. Not because they were cruel, because they were steady. Varric's face sharpened. "Listen to her. 3 hours in Blackmere. And already she speaks like a wolf weapon. This is what I warned you about." He turned to the dragon court, lifting the bloody dagger so all could see. "The king's blood is failing because of her. The mark answers his weakness. If she touches him, she will complete the bond and give the night wolves a claim over the dragon throne." The dragon lords looked afraid. Good. Fear made them honest. Seraya kept moving. Caelum lifted his head. His voice came out rough. "Stay back." She almost laughed. Even bleeding on the floor, he still thought he had the right to give her orders. "No." His eyes fixed on her. Varric stepped between them. One more step, and I will name you enemy of the Dragon Court. Seraya looked at the man who had wrapped her life in treaty language and called it strategy. You already named me everything except human. A flicker moved through the court. Varric's mouth tightened. The moon beast growled again, but Seraya raised one hand. It stopped. The entire hall noticed. So did Varric. His eyes went to her mark, now shining through the torn cloth like a silver-blue wound. You see? She commands it. I asked it, Seraya said. That is how corruption begins. It makes obedience sound gentle. Caelum tried to rise. The dagger wound flared black. He dropped again, teeth clenched, the sound in his chest breaking into something almost animal. Seraya felt it tear through her mark. She stumbled, catching herself on the treaty table. The moment her palm touched the stone, moonlight spread across its surface. The old bloodlines of the treaty woke, not the fresh ink Varric had written. Older lines beneath it. Hidden, forgotten. Seraya looked down. The symbols moved under her hand, forming a circle around the mark glowing on her chest. A dragon wing. A wolf moon. 2 powers bound, not by conquest, but by choice. The Night Wolf commander stepped closer, stunned. That is the first treaty. Elder Mara's voice came from the doorway behind Seraya. Before wolves and dragons became enemies, the blind elder had followed after all. Varric's expression darkened. Old myths have no authority here. Elder Mara tilted her silver eyes toward him. Men always say that when old truths threaten new lies. The treaty table cracked. A vision rose from the stone. Not smoke, moonfire. The hall vanished into a memory of another age. A dragon king stood beneath a black sky, wounded and proud. Beside him stood a wolf queen with silver fire in her hands. Between them knelt the same moon beast, younger than, unchained. Its head lowered not in obedience but blessing. The wolf queen pressed her palm to the dragon king's chest. He did not burn her. He breathed. The memory shifted. Their joined blood sealed the first peace. Not ownership. Not alliance through payment. Bunt. Seraya stared at it. Unable to breathe. Varric shouted, Enough! He drove the ash gold dagger into the treaty table. The vision shattered. At the same moment, Caelum convulsed. Black fire erupted from his armor and struck the floor in violent streams. Dragon soldiers fell back. Wolves snarled. The moon beast leapt in front of Seraya, but she pushed past its shoulder. Caelum's dragon blood was collapsing. Varric had not exposed it only to kill him. He had exposed it to prove Caelum unfit, make the court panic, and place himself as the only voice strong enough to guide what remained. Seraya saw the whole shape of it now. You wanted him weak, she said. Not dead. Weak enough for the council to rule through you. Varric's face lost all warmth. I wanted the kingdom to survive a king bewitched by a cursed woman. He was dying before I touched him. He was manageable before you came back. Caelum's laugh was barely a breath. Manageable. The word carried enough contempt to cut stone. He dragged himself upright, blood darkening the edge of his armor. You counseled me to sell her. Varric turned to him. I counseled you to remove the thing that made you hesitate. Caelum's gaze moved to Seraya. That truth landed harder than apology would have. He had not sold her because she meant nothing. He had sold her because she meant too much. And fear had dressed itself as duty. Seraya hated him for that. She understood him for that. The two feelings tore at each other until her mark burned bright enough to light the hall. Caelum saw the pain on her face. Something in him broke, not the dragon blood, not the king's mask, but the pride beneath both. I was wrong, he said. The hall froze. Varric's eyes widened. Caelum looked at Seraya, not the court. I thought sending you away would keep my blood from reaching for yours. I thought fear was wisdom because everyone around me called it strategy. His voice roughened. I made a chain sound like peace. Seraya stood still. No part of her softened easily. Not after the treaty floor. Not after the warmth of his hand on the chain. But the words entered the room cleanly, without excuse. That mattered. Not enough, but it mattered. Varric lifted the dagger again. Then you admit your judgment is compromised. Caelum's eyes turned fully gold. No. I admit yours poisoned it. Varric struck. Not at Caelum. At Seraya. The dagger flew from his hand, aimed directly at the glowing mark beneath her collarbone. The moonbeast lunged. Caelum hoaded. Seraya did not move back. She raised her hand. The dagger stopped inches from her chest. Moonlight wrapped around the blade. Dragonfire answered from Caelum's wound. The two powers met in the air between them, twisting around the ash-gold metal until the dagger cracked in half. Every torch in the hall went blue. The moonbeast bowed again. This time, Caelum's dying dragon roar answered not in pain, but recognition. Seraya looked at him across the broken light. Then the first true bond thread snapped into place between them, bright as a silver-blue chain. And both courts saw it. The bond thread burned between Seraya and Caelum for 3 heartbeats before either court dared breathe. It was not a chain. That was the first thing Seraya understood. Chains pulled from outside. Chains tightened when someone resisted. Chains made obedience look like order. This thread did none of that. It stretched between her mark and the wound beneath Caelum's armor. Silver, blue, and gold braided together. Trembling with a life neither of them had agreed to, but both of them felt. It did not drag her toward him. It only waited. Choice. The word came back to her from Elder Mara's voice. If you go to him now, you go because you choose it. Seraya lowered her hand slowly. The broken halves of Varric's dagger fell to the treaty floor. No one moved to pick them up. Varric stared at the bond thread as if it had opened a grave beneath his feet. For one breath, all his careful politics vanished, and something older showed through. Fear. Not fear for the kingdom. Fear of losing the kingdom's fear. The bond is unstable, he said. His voice cracked only slightly, but Seraya heard it. So did Caelum. Varric turned toward the dragon lords. You see it yourselves. Dragonfire and moon magic were forbidden for a reason. If that thread completes, the dragon throne becomes answerable to wolf law. The Nightwolf commander snarled. And if it does not, your king dies. At least he dies dragon, Varric snapped. The words froze the hall. Caelum lifted his head. Black fire still leaked from the wound under his armor, but the gold had begun to return to his eyes. Pain bent him, yet he no longer looked like a man being hollowed from within. He looked at Varric as if seeing the full shape of him at last. That is what this was always about, Caelum said. Not survival. Purity. Varric's face hardened. Bloodlines survive because men have the courage to protect them from corruption. Seraya stepped over the broken dagger. The moonbeast moved with her. This time, the wolves stepped aside. So did the dragons. The space between her and Varric opened like a wound through the hall. You called me corruption when you needed me gone, Seraya said. You called me payment when you needed peace. What will you call me now? That your king's blood answers mine? Varric's eyes narrowed. A threat. The word did not wound her as much as he wanted. She had been called worse by quieter mouths. Elder Mara entered the hall fully now, her blind silver eyes fixed on nothing and everything. The first treaty did not make dragons weaker. It made both kingdoms harder to conquer. Old songs, Varric said. Old memory, she answered. The moon beast lowered its head beside Seraya, and the broken dragon chains around its neck began to glow. The runes carved into them lit one by one. Seraya looked at the chains. They were not decoration. They were records. Each link held a piece of the first bond. Dragon King, Wolf Queen, Moon Beast, Knight, Dragon Mate. A bridge made not to rule both sides, but to keep one from devouring the other. The bond thread in Seraya's chest pulsed. Caelum gasped. Seraya turned. The thread had brightened, but his wound had opened wider. Varric's dagger had done more than cut flesh. It had torn into the dying place inside Caelum's dragon blood and left it exposed. If she did nothing, he would die. If she helped him, both courts would see the bond strengthen. And if the bond strengthened, Varric would use it as proof she had bewitched him. Seraya almost laughed at the trap. Every path still led to blame. Caelum saw her hesitation. Do not heal me because they are watching, he said. His voice was low, rough with pain. The hall quieted. He forced himself to stand straighter, though blood slid between the plates of his armor. And do not refuse because I deserve to suffer. Seraya's throat tightened. That would have been easier. Hating him cleanly would have been easier. but he had named the ugliest part of her anger without defending himself against it. He knew she had the right to leave him on the floor. He knew apology did not erase the treaty chain. For the first time, he did not ask her to be useful. He asked her to choose. Varric heard the danger in that too. She owes you nothing, he said quickly. Seraya's eyes cut to him. The words might have sounded righteous from anyone else. From Varric, they were another weapon. He did not care what she owed. He cared what she could do. No, Seraya said. I don't. She walked to Caelum anyway. The bond thread tightened not painfully, but with recognition. Caelum did not reach for her. That mattered. Seraya stopped close enough to see the blood at the edge of his armor. The torn leather glove on his right hand. The faint burn around his wrist where her chain had been wrapped before he passed it away. Evidence of a choice he could never unmake. Her voice dropped. If I help you, it is not forgiveness. I know. If I stand beside you, it is not surrender. I know. If you ever make my life into strategy again, I will let your dragon blood remember what silence feels like. A flicker passed through his eyes. Not fear. Respect. Then I will deserve it. Seraya placed her palm over the wound in his armor. The hall erupted. Dragon lords shouted. Wolves growled. Varric lunged forward. But the moon beast blocked him with a roar that bent every torch sideways. Seraya did not look away from Caelum. The moment her mark answered his blood, the world went silver, blue, and gold. Pain struck her first. His pain. Years of it. A dragon inside him. Not dead, but starved. Wings folded in darkness. Fire coughing against old ash. A beast powerful enough to burn armies, reduced to a heartbeat fading under armor. Then her own mark opened wider. Not on her skin. Inside her, she saw a night sky with no stars. A dragon flying under a wolf moon. A woman with Seraya's eyes standing between two armies, her hands covered in both fire and frost. The last night dragon mate. Not queen, not sacrifice. Bridge. Seraya understood then why the bond had terrified them. A bridge could save two kingdoms, or expose the men who profited from keeping them divided. She sang without knowing she would. Not a song of words. A low, trembling sound that rose from the crescent mark beneath her collarbone and moved through her palm into Caelum's wound. His dragon answered. Gold fire surged beneath his armor. Caelum threw his head back with a roar that shook dust from the moon hall roof. For one terrible second, wings of black gold flame burst behind him, enormous and half-formed. The shadow of the dragon blood Varric had tried to starve. The court fell to its knees. Not all from loyalty. Some from terror. The wound sealed beneath Seraya's hand. The bond thread did not vanish. It rooted deeper. Caelum dropped one hand to the treaty table to steady himself. His breathing was harsh, but the dying sound inside him had changed. It was alive. Varric staggered back. No, he whispered. Seraya turned toward him, hand still pressed to Caelum's chest. The moon beast stood behind her. The dragon fire behind Caelum burned clean. For the first time, Varric looked smaller than the fear he had built. Then the broken first treaty on the table flared with ancient light, and the old words carved themselves into the stone for both courts to read. The night dragon mate does not belong to wolf or flame. Both crowns answer when she chooses. The words carved into the treaty table burned brighter than moonfire. The night dragon mate does not belong to wolf or flame. Both crowns answer when she chooses. No one in the hall breathed. Seraya kept her hand against Caelum's chest, feeling the newly awakened fire beneath his armor. His dragon blood no longer sounded like something dying in a locked chamber. It moved now weak, wounded, but alive. Caelum looked down at the ancient words, then at her. For once, he had no command ready. Good. Seraya removed her hand from his chest. The bond thread between them remained, silver, blue, and gold, stretching from her mark to his blood without forcing either of them closer. Varric saw that too. His fear sharpened into calculation. Convenient, he said, voice thin with anger. A dead treaty appears at the exact moment she touches him. Are we to kneel because stone glows? Elder Mara turned her blind face toward him. You already knelt to fear. Stone is an improvement. A few night wolves growled low in approval. The dragon lords remained silent, And that silence told Seraya everything. They had seen Caelum nearly die. They had seen Varric's dagger. They had seen the bond heal what their priests could not. But truth did not automatically become courage. Especially in courts. Varric stepped toward the dragon's side, spreading his hands. Think. If this woman is recognized, the Nightwolves gain influence over our king's blood. Every border, every heir, every dragon oath becomes vulnerable. I did what I did because someone had to protect the throne from a king too compromised to protect himself. Caelum's eyes darkened. Seraya felt his anger through the thread. Hot and sudden, but he did not move. He was learning. Varric turned to the wolves. And you are fools if you welcome her. A bridge belongs to both sides. Yes, but a bridge is also where armies cross. The wolf elders murmured. The commander's jaw tightened. There it was again. Fear finding different mouths. Seraya stepped away from Caelum, breaking the image Varric wanted. Cursed woman clinging to weakened king. She faced both courts alone. I am not your bridge if all you want is a road for soldiers. The room stilled. Her voice did not shake this time. I am not the dragon court's shame to sell. I am not the Nightwolf's miracle to cage. And I am not proof for either side to twist into another war. The moon beast lowered itself behind her, antlers glowing under the open roof. Caelum watched her as if every word was cutting something old out of him. Varric laughed once. Beautiful. Empty, but beautiful. What will you do then? Rewrite centuries of blood because a beast sniffed your mark? Seraya's mark pulsed. The treaty table answered. Moonwater rose from the carved lines, flowing upward instead of down. It formed a thin circle in the air around the old words. Inside it, images flickered dragons burning wolf villages, wolves tearing dragon riders from the sky, children hidden under ash, queens buried without names, not one side innocent, not one side clean. Seraya's throat tightened, but she forced herself to look. So did everyone else. The images shifted to the first night dragon mate. The woman from Seraya's vision. She stood between two armies with blood on her dress and silver-blue fire in her hands. Both crowns had demanded she choose one side. She chose neither. She bound the moon beast to witness peace. She bound dragon blood to honor it. Then men after her broke the treaty and called the breaking tradition. The vision vanished. The moonwater fell across the table like rain. Varric's face had gone pale, but he recovered quickly. Old grief does not rule living kingdoms. No, Seraya said. Living cowards do. The insult struck the hall harder than a blade. Varric's eyes flashed. Caelum turned his head slightly, almost hiding the faintest shift at the corner of his mouth. Almost. Varric reached for the dragon lords. Arrest her. No one moved. His voice sharpened. I said arrest her. One younger dragon commander stepped forward, uncertain, duty warring with fear. Caelum spoke at last. Take another step toward her, and you answer to me. The commander stopped. Varric whirled on him. You prove my point. She touched your blood, and now you bare your teeth at your own court. Caelum's voice dropped. No. I bare my teeth at the man who stabbed me and called it protection. The dragon lords looked away from Varric. A crack in his power. Small, but real. Varric saw it and changed tactics. He reached into his cloak and pulled out a narrow black horn carved from dragon bone. Elder Mara stiffened. Caelum's expression turned lethal. Varric. The old lord raised the horn to his lips. The sound that came out was not music. It was command. Beneath the hall, beneath Blackmere, something answered with claws. The wolves surged back from the walls. The moon beast stood abruptly, fur rising, silver eyes blazing. Seraya felt the bond thread lash with warning. What did he call? She asked. Caelum drew his sword. The treaty prisoners. The floor gates along the sides of the hall burst open. From the darkness came chained creatures, wolves with dragonfire burned into their ribs. Half-mad beasts captured in border wars, and experimented on by men who wanted to know if fang and flame could be forced together. Their eyes were black. Their mouths smoked. Iron collars dug into their necks. The Nightwolves erupted in horror. The dragon court recoiled. Varric lowered the horn, breathing hard. You wanted the truth beneath the treaty? Here it is. This is what happens when bloodlines mix without control. Seraya stared at the chained beasts. They were not proof. They were victims. The moon beast roared, furious enough to shake the open sky. The corrupted wolf dragons lunged. Caelum moved in front of Seraya. This time she caught his arm before he could shield her completely. He looked at her. She did not smile. Beside me, she said. A pulse went through the bond thread. Caelum's eyes burned gold. He stepped beside her. The first corrupted beast leapt. Seraya lifted her hand, and the moon beast struck the floor with one massive paw. Silver-blue fire spread beneath the chained creatures, not burning them, but stopping them mid-lunge. Caelum raised his sword, black-gold dragonfire curling along the blade. Seraya felt both powers waiting for her choice. Not to kill, to command. But her mark ached with the memory of every chain she had worn. No more collars, she whispered. Then she sang. The sound tore through the hall, low and wild. Not beautiful, but true. The bond thread flared between her and Caelum. His dragonfire met her moonfire and rushed across the floor in a wave of silver-gold light. The iron collars on the corrupted beasts cracked. One by one they fell. The creatures collapsed, gasping, their black eyes fading back to frightened wolf silver and dragon amber. The hall went silent. The night wolves stared at the freed prisoners. The dragon lords stared at Varric. Caelum's sword lowered slowly. Seraya turned toward the old counselor. Now he had nowhere to hide, but Varric smiled. Not defeated. Relieved. You freed them, he said softly. Good. Seraya's blood chilled. From the broken collars, black smoke rose. Not from the prisoners, from the spells inside the iron. The smoke twisted upward and wrapped around the open roof, forming a dark circle against the moon. Elder Mara whispered, a blood witness trap. Varric stepped back as the smoke began to show images to the sky above both courts. Not the full truth, only the part he wanted seen. Seraya standing over freed wolf dragon beasts. Caelum beside her with dragonfire raised. The moon beast at her back. A bridge made to look like an army. Varric lifted his voice so every lord, wolf, and hidden messenger could hear. Now all kingdoms will see what she is. The smoke spread across the moon like a banner. The cursed woman did not come to make peace, he said. She came to command monsters. Outside Blackmere, war horns began to answer. War horns answered from beyond Blackmere, one after another. Low, distant, spreading through the mountain passes like wolves carrying fire in their mouths. The smoke above the open roof twisted across the moon, showing every watching scout and hidden signal tower exactly what Varric wanted them to see. Seraya standing with the moon beast behind her, Caelum beside her with dragonfire raised, and freed wolf dragon prisoners gasping at her feet. A cursed woman commanding monsters. A dragon king bewitched. A night wolf beast kneeling. Enough truth to make the lie believable. Seraya stared up at the smoke banner and felt the old helplessness rise in her throat. This was what men like Varric did best. They did not need to invent a whole falsehood. They only had to cut truth into the shape of a weapon and hand it to frightened kingdoms. The night wolf commander looked toward the open gates. Border horns. A dragon captain stepped forward, face pale. Those are not only wolf horns. Dragon outposts are answering too. The hall shifted into panic. Varric smiled through the chaos. Caelum crossed the floor in 2 strides and seized him by the collar. End the witness spell. Varric did not resist. That made Seraya colder. I cannot, he said. Blood witness cannot be recalled once released. Caelum's eyes burned gold. Then I will cut it out of you. Varric laughed softly. And prove the image true? The bewitched king murdering his own counselor while monsters gather at his feet? Caelum's grip tightened. The dragonfire around his hand flared. Seraya saw the trap closing again. Caelum. He froze at the sound of his name. Not your majesty. Not Dragon King. Caelum. The bond thread between them pulled once, not commanding, only warning. He released Varric slowly. The old lord dropped to one knee, coughing. But his eyes stayed bright with victory. Seraya stepped toward him. You wanted this. I wanted the kingdoms to see danger before it wore a crown. No, she said. You wanted them afraid enough to need you. Varric's smile thinned. Before he could answer, The first freed prisoner made a broken sound. Seraya turned. A young wolf dragon creature lay near the treaty table, no longer snarling, no longer black-eyed. He had shifted halfway back into human shape, his hands clawed, his ribs still glowing faintly with forced dragon fire. He could not have been older than 20. A night wolf woman pushed through the guards with a cry. "My son." The commander caught her arm. "Stay back." She tore free and fell beside the creature, gathering his shaking body into her arms. "Arden! Arden! Look at me!" The hall went silent again. The creature opened frightened amber-silver eyes. "Mother?" The word broke something stronger than any spell. Other wolves surged forward. A dragon soldier recognized another prisoner and went pale. One of the freed beasts curled on the floor, whispering a name over and over, as if language itself hurt. These were not monsters. They were sons, daughters, prisoners. Border children taken into experiments and hidden under treaty law. Seraya looked at Varric. His mistake was not that he had revealed them. His mistake was believing fear would be the only thing people saw. Elder Myra lifted her blind face toward the smoke covering the moon. The witness spell shows image, but not meaning. Seraya understood. The whole world was seeing the scene, but only Blackmere could give it a voice. She moved toward the center of the hall. Caelum caught her wrist gently, not to stop her, to ask. The difference mattered. "What are you doing?" he said. Seraya looked up at the smoke. "Changing what they hear." Varric rose too quickly. "No." There it was. Fear again. Real this time. Seraya looked at the moon beast. "Can it carry sound?" The beast lowered its head. Elder Mara answered. "Through the old moon paths, yes. But only if the speaker stands inside truth. A lie will break the throat that gives it." Varric laughed. "Then let her try." Caelum's hand remained around Seraya's wrist, warm and careful. "You do not have to." She looked at him. The chain warmth was still a memory on her skin. So was his silence when he sold her. But now his touch did not trap. It waited. "I know," she said. Then she stepped away. The moon beast walked with her to the center of the treaty hall. The freed prisoners watched her with terrified eyes. The wolf mother held her son tighter. Dragon lords stood stiff and ashamed. Night wolves bristled at their old enemies, yet none moved to strike. Seraya stood beneath the smoke-dark moon and placed one hand over the mark on her chest. The first note hurt, not because her voice was weak, because truth had weight. The sound rose from her mark, silver blue and deep, and the moon beast answered with a low howl that curled around it. Caelum's dragonfire stirred behind her, gold and restrained, not taking over, only strengthening the sound. Seraya spoke into the witness spell. "I am Seraya of the Ash Towers. I was sold tonight as treaty price between dragon and wolf." Her voice passed into the smoke. The dark image above the moon trembled. Across the hall, Varric's expression hardened. "I was called Curse because men feared a bond older than their war. I was called Danger because my blood did not obey one crown." The smoke image shifted, still showing her, still showing the beasts. But now the freed prisoners began to appear clearly. Broken collars, burned ribs, human faces beneath forced shapes. Seraya continued. "These are not monsters I command. They are prisoners your courts buried. Wolf children, dragon children, border blood, used by men who called cruelty protection." A sound moved through the hall. Not panic. Recognition. The wolf mother lifted her son's face toward the smoke. "Show them," Seraya whispered. The moon beast roared. The witness spell widened. Every hidden signal tower beyond Blackmere would now see not only Seraya, but the freed prisoners trembling beside their families. They would see Varric's collars, his dagger, the first treaty glowing beneath the blood-red table. Varric lunged. Caelum intercepted him. This time he did not use dragonfire. He simply struck Varric across the face with the hilt of his sword and sent him crashing to the floor. The hall erupted. Caelum stood over him, breathing hard. "You do not touch her again." Varric spat blood and laughed. "Too late. Horns have sounded. Fear moves faster than truth." Seraya knew he was right. The witness spell might slow war. It would not stop every blade already drawn. Then the mountain shook. Not from horns, from something outside. A roar split the night, huge, broken, and unmistakably dragon. Caelum turned toward the open roof. His face went cold. "Razakal," he whispered. Seraya looked at him. "The border dragon?" Elder Mara asked. Caelum nodded once. "My uncle kept him chained near the East Pass." Varric smiled from the floor, blood on his teeth. "I did not keep all my monsters under this hall." Another roar came. Closer. The open roof burned red. Seraya felt the bond thread tighten violently. Caelum's dragon blood answered in rage. The moon beast lowered itself, ready to spring. A shadow passed over the moon. Then a massive chained dragon crashed onto the roof of Blackmere. Its eyes black with collar magic. Its wings torn open by iron hooks. War had arrived before truth could finish speaking. The chained dragon crashed onto the roof of Blackmere and broke the moonlight in half. Stone ribs shattered above the treaty hall. Red fire poured through the opening. Wolves scattered. Dragon soldiers dragged wounded men from falling debris. The freed prisoners cried out as chunks of black rock struck the floor around them. Seraya looked up and saw Razakal. He had once been beautiful. Even through the collar magic, she could tell. His body was long and powerful, built for high skies and mountain storms. Black-red scales covered his massive frame. His wings, though torn by iron hooks, still stretched wide enough to shadow the hall. But his eyes were wrong. Empty, burning black. Around his neck was an iron collar thicker than a man's waist, carved with the same symbols that had bound the wolf-dragon prisoners. Chains ran from it into hooks buried beneath his scales, each one glowing with Varric's ash-gold magic. This was not a dragon coming to war. This was a dragon being driven into it. Caelum stepped forward, horror cutting through his anger. "Razakal." The dragon's head snapped toward him. For one heartbeat, something amber flickered behind the black eyes. Recognition. Then the collar burned. Razakal screamed and breathed fire into the hall. Caelum threw up his sword. Gold flame met red fire in midair, splitting the blast before it reached the freed prisoners. The force drove him back several steps. His wound had healed, but his strength was not fully returned. Seraya felt the strain through the bond thread like a rope pulled too tight. The moon beast leapt onto a fallen pillar and roared at the dragon. Razakal turned on it. The hall became chaos. Wolves shifted into battle forms. Dragon guards raised shields. The Night Wolf commander shouted for the injured to be moved behind the treaty table. Elder Mara stood still among the panic. Blind face lifted to the burning roof as if listening to a song no one else could hear. Varric rose slowly from the floor, blood running from his mouth. His eyes were not on Razakal. They were on Seraya. "Now choose," he said. "Save the wolves, or save the dragon." Seraya understood the cruelty at once. If she used the bond to help Caelum subdue Razakal, the Night Wolves would see dragon power taking priority. If she stood with the moon beast against the dragon, Caelum's court would see proof she belonged to their enemies. Either way, Varric would carve her into a weapon for one side to fear. Caelum looked at her through the smoke. His voice was rough. "Do not let him force the choice." "Then what do I choose?" His eyes held hers. "The truth." Razakal struck again. The moon beast dodged, but one iron hook from the dragon's wing tore across its shoulder. Silver blood splashed over the stone. Seraya felt the pain in her own mark and nearly fell. Caelum caught her arm, not pulling her behind him, holding her steady. The bond thread flared. Seraya looked from the wounded moon beast to the chained dragon above them. Both ancient powers bleeding, because men had decided fear was easier to govern than peace. Her anger went quiet, dangerously quiet. No more choosing between wounds. She whispered. She stepped away from Caelum and climbed onto the broken treaty table. Varric shouted, "Pull her down!" No one obeyed quickly enough. Seraya raised both hands, one toward Razakal, one toward the moon beast. The mark beneath her collarbone opened like a silver-blue eye. The bond thread to Caelum burned gold. The moon beast's blood answered from the floor. Razakal's collar pulsed black, resisting her before she even began. This was not like freeing the prisoners. Razakal was older, stronger, more deeply bound. His pain had become rage. His rage had become obedience. Seraya drew one breath and sang. The first note vanished under Razakal's roar. The second trembled. The third reached him. The dragon froze mid-lunga. His black eyes locked on her. The collar around his throat tightened so brutally that blood and sparks burst beneath the iron. Seraya's own throat closed. She staggered, choking on a pain that was not hers. Caelum moved toward her. Varric moved first. He snatched a broken blade from the floor and pressed it to Seraya's back, just beneath her ribs. "Stop singing," he hissed, close enough that only she and Caelum could hear. "Or I will open you before your precious bond can save him." Seraya did not stop. The blade cut through cloth. Caelum's eyes went gold. Varric. The word was not a warning. It was execution waiting for permission. Varric smiled behind Seraya. "Come closer. And she dies, proving she was your weakness." Seraya's song shook. For 1 second, fear returned so completely she almost obeyed. Then Razakel made a sound. "Notarwar. A sob." The dragon's amber eyes flickered again beneath the black magic. He was still in there, buried under iron, forced to burn people he had once guarded. Seraya pressed her bleeding hand against the treaty table. Moonwater and dragonfire surged up together. She looked at Caelum. "Not for rescue. For trust. Beside me," she whispered. Caelum lowered his sword. The entire dragon court gasped. Then he stepped around the blade at Seraya's back, slow and deliberate, and placed his bare hand over hers on the treaty table. Varric stiffened. The bond thread blazed. The moonbeast rose despite its wound and placed one massive paw against the other side of the table. Razakel lowered his head through the broken roof, fighting the collar hard enough to crack the iron hooks in his wings. Seraya sung again. This time, Caelum's dragonfire carried the note upward. The moonbeast's howl wrapped around it. Razakel answered with a broken roar. The 3 sounds met in the center of the hall and struck the collar. One iron link snapped. Then another. Varric drove the blade deeper. Pain flashed white through Seraya's body. Caelum caught her before she fell. But she did not stop singing. Blood ran down her side. The mark on her chest burned brighter. Razakel slammed his claws into the roof, bowed his massive head, and forced the collar toward the sound. The final link shattered. Black smoke exploded from his throat. Varric screamed not from injury, but because every spell he had hidden inside the dragon tore free and snapped back toward its maker. The blade dropped from his hand. Razakel's eyes cleared to burning amber. For one breath, he stared at Seraya. Then the great border dragon folded his torn wings and lowered his head until his brow touched the broken roof before her. A second ancient beast had bowed. The hall went silent. Caelum held Seraya against him, one arm around her waist, his other hand still pressed over hers on the treaty table. No one called it weakness now. Outside Blackmere, the war horns faltered. Then Varric, shaking and half-burned by his own broken magic, lifted his head from the floor. "You think beasts bowing will stop armies?" he rasped. His eyes moved toward the open mountain pass beyond the hall. Seraya followed his gaze. Below Blackmere, hundreds of torches were climbing the road. Dragon banners, wolf banners, and between them, mercenary flags that belonged to neither crown. Varric smiled through the blood. "I did not summon a battle," he whispered. "I summoned judgment." Judgment climbed the mountain in torchlight. From the broken roof of Blackmere, Seraya could see the road below filled with banners. Dragon banners, wolf banners, mercenary flags stitched in gray and bone. Houses from both kingdoms had answered the blood witness before truth could reach them. And now they came armed beneath the smoke-stained moon. Not for peace. For someone to blame. Caelum's arm remained around Seraya's waist, steadying her where Varric's blade had cut beneath her ribs. Blood warmed the side of her dress. Her vision flickered at the edges, but she forced herself to stand. She would not collapse in front of Varric. Not now. Razakel, freed from his collar, perched above the shattered hall with his torn wings folded, amber eyes fixed on the armies below. The moonbeast stood near the treaty table, silver blood still dripping from its shoulder. Between them lay the freed wolf dragon prisoners, trembling in the arms of families who had thought them dead. And Varric smiled from the floor as if all of it still belonged to him. "You see?" he rasped. "They have come to judge what should never have existed." Caelum raised his sword toward him. "They came because you lied. They came because they were ready to believe me." Varric's eyes moved to the dragon lords, then the wolf elders. That is the difference between a lie and a useful truth. Seraya hated that he was right. Fear had already been waiting in every kingdom. Varric had only given it a shape. The Nightwolf commander stepped toward the open doors. If those forces enter the hall, there will be slaughter. A dragon captain answered sharply. If we do not meet them, they will think we are hiding an army. You are hiding an army, Varric said. The freed prisoners recoiled. Seraya looked at him. For the first time, she wanted fire. Not justice. Not truth. Fire. Caelum felt the shift through the bond thread. His hand tightened slightly at her waist, not restraining her, only reminding her that rage could become another chain if she let Varric shape it. She drew a hard breath. Varric watched them both and laughed. Beautiful. The cursed bridge bleeds, the Dragon King holds her, and the beasts kneel around them. You have made my accusation look holy. Seraya pulled away from Caelum's support. Pain cut through her side. Caelum moved with her, but she lifted one hand. I can stand. His jaw tightened, but he stopped. That mattered too. Outside, the first soldiers reached the outer courtyard. Horns sounded again, closer now. The open gates of Blackmere shook with boots, claws, and iron wheels. Elder Mara stepped beside Seraya. There is one way to halt judgment before it becomes war. The hall quieted. The blind elder's face turned toward the broken treaty table. The old law allows the night dragon mate to call a witness circle. No crown may strike until both beasts and both bloodlines have spoken. Varric's smile faded. Seraya noticed. What does it cost? She asked. Elder Mara did not answer quickly enough. Caelum's eyes sharpened. What does it cost? The elder lowered her voice. The caller must stand between every accusing blade and let the bond show what she truly is. Not what she claims. Not what others call her. What her blood chooses when threatened. The Nightwolf commander looked grim. If the bond is unstable, it may tear her apart. Caelum's answer was immediate. No. Seraya turned to him. He did not look like a king then. He looked like the man who had sold her because fear made a coward of his love before it knew its name. No, he repeated, lower this time. I will not let another law place your body between kingdoms that failed you. Seraya's chest tightened. There was the protection he had not known how to give before. Too late to erase the chain. Strong enough to matter now. I am already between them, she said. Caelum's face hardened with pain. That does not mean you must bleed for them. I am not doing it for them. She looked at the freed prisoners. At the wolf mother holding her son. At Rizakel's torn wings. At the moon beast's wounded shoulder. At the dragon soldiers staring at the wolf families with shame beginning to break through old hatred. I am doing it because Varric built a world where every wounded thing becomes evidence against itself. Her hand pressed against the bleeding cut at her side. I know what that feels like. Caelum said nothing. The bond thread between them warmed. Not pulling. Not pleading. Only staying. Seraya stepped onto the shattered treaty table. The hall doors burst open. Armies filled the entrance. Dragon lords in war armor. Wolf alphas with moon-painted faces. Mercenary captains with crossbows raised. Behind them, signal riders crowded the courtyard, ready to carry whatever they saw into every valley before dawn. All weapons lifted toward Seraya. Rizakel roared. The moon beast snarled. Caelum raised his sword. Seraya lifted both hands. Wait. One word. It should not have stopped an army. But the mark beneath her collarbone flared, and the moon itself seemed to lower over the broken roof. Every torch went blue. The witness circle awakened. Silver-blue fire spread from Seraya's feet, crossing the table, the floor, the broken collars, the freed prisoners, Caelum's blood, the moonbeast's wound, and Rizakel's shattered chains. The circle grew until it held both courts and every soldier in the doorway. No one could strike. Varric tried to crawl backward. The fire caught his shadow and held it. Seraya looked down at him. You wanted judgment. Her voice carried beyond the hall, down the mountain road, through the horns and banners and frightened hearts waiting for permission to hate, then stand inside it. Varric's face twisted. The witness circle filled with images, not the ones he had chosen. All of them. Seraya in chains, passed from Caelum's hand. Varric whispering that peace required sacrifice. Caelum signing the treaty with a face like stone, and a hand that trembled after she turned away. The moon beast ignoring the king and kneeling before her. Varric stabbing Caelum to expose his dying blood. The freed prisoners wearing collars under the hall. Razakel screaming under collar magic. Varric releasing every fear he had spent years feeding. Then the circle showed something Seraya had not seen. Caelum alone in the dragon chapel weeks before the treaty. One hand braced against the altar, dragonfire coughing black from his mouth. Varric standing behind him. She is the reason, Varric said in the memory. Your blood reaches for her because she is poison wearing a woman's face. Send her away, and you may live. Caelum's face in the memory was pale with pain. And if she is not poison? Varric leaned closer. Then she is power you cannot control. Which is worse. The memory vanished. The armies went silent. Seraya turned toward Caelum. He looked devastated. Not because the court had seen his weakness, because she had seen the fear that helped him betray her. I should have told you, he said. Yes, she answered. No softness. No cruelty. Truth. The witness circle turned next to Seraya. For one breath she was afraid. What if blood chose rage? What if the curse they had named her was real? What if the bond showed a monster because everyone had spent years teaching her to expect one? The moon beast stepped to one side of the table. Razakel lowered his ruined head to the other. Caelum stood below her, sword lowered. Not defending her from the truth, trusting her to face it. Seraya closed her eyes. The mark on her chest opened. Silver blue fire rose behind her like wings. But they were not only dragon wings. They curved into a wolf moon, then a bridge of light stretching between two burning crowns. The freed prisoners lifted their heads. The armies lowered their weapons one by one. The witness circle spoke through fire, beast, and blood. Not curse. Not weapon. Not property. Night dragon mate. The last bridge. Varric screamed and lunged for the broken horn on the floor. Caelum moved, but Seraya was faster. She sang one sharp note. The moon beast struck the horn with its paw. Razakel breathed gold fire. The horn turned to ash. Varric fell back, shaking. All his hidden commands burned away. The witness circle tightened around him. Images of every experiment, every false treaty, every border child taken. Every beast collared by his orders rose around him until even his own supporters stepped back in horror. The dragon lords lowered their banners. The wolf alphas lowered theirs. One mercenary captain dropped his crossbow and spat at Varric's feet. The old counselor looked around at the world he had frightened into obedience, and saw it finally frightened of him. Seraya stepped down from the table, nearly falling when pain tore through her side. Caelum caught her. This time she let him, only for a breath. Varric stared at them with hatred. You think this ends war? Seraya looked past him to the armies, the freed prisoners, the beasts, the broken treaty table, and the dawn beginning to pale the edge of the sky. No, she said. But it ends your right to speak for peace. Caelum raised his sword, not over Seraya, but beside her. Lord Varric Draven, he said, voice carrying through the witness circle. By dragon blood, moon witness, and the freed prisoners of both courts, you are stripped of council right, command and name. The circle flared. Varric's family crest burned from his cloak. He screamed not from pain, but from the loss of everything he had mistaken for himself. Then the armies outside Blackmere began to kneel. Not to Caelum alone, not to the night wolves alone, to the woman standing between them, bleeding but unbroken, with the moon beast at one side and a freed dragon at the other. Seraya's knees almost buckled. Caelum's hand steadied her again. Below the mountain, the war horns stopped, and for the first time in centuries, the road between wolf and dragon fell silent. Dawn reached Blackmere slowly. It did not break over the mountain like victory. It came pale and cautious, touching the lowered weapons first. Then the torn banners. Then the broken treaty table where Seraya still stood with blood drying against her side. The armies remained on their knees. Dragon lords, wolf alphas, mercenary captains, border scouts, men and women who had climbed the mountain ready to call her monster now stared at the witness circle fading beneath her feet, unable to deny what it had shown. Seraya did not feel powerful. She felt exhausted. The mark beneath her collarbone still glowed, but softer now. The shape of the dragon wing and wolf moon no longer burned like a wound. It pulsed like a second heartbeat, answering both Razakal above the roof and the moon beast beside the table. Caelum's hand remained near her back, not touching unless she leaned. That restraint mattered more than any public vow. Lord Varric knelt inside the dying witness circle, stripped of crest, command, and name. Without his council cloak, he looked smaller. Not harmless. Never harmless. But human in the ugliest way. A man who had mistaken fear for wisdom until fear became the only language he knew how to speak. The dragon guards moved to seize him. Varric lifted his head one last time. "You will regret this," he said. Not to Caelum, but to Seraya. "Bridges are crossed, then they are broken." Seraya looked at him for a long moment. Once, words like that would have followed her into sleep. Now they only sounded tired. "No," she said. "Bridges fall when men build kingdoms on hatred and call it stone." The moonbeast gave a low rumble. Razakal's amber eyes burned from the ruined roof. Varric's mouth twisted. But the guards closed iron around his wrists. He looked almost relieved when the chains locked, as if he could understand punishment more easily than a world no longer arranged around his warnings. They dragged him from the hall. No one followed him. That, more than the chains, was his ending. Silence settled after he was gone. Then the wolf mother, whose son had been freed from the collar magic, stepped forward. Her arm was wrapped around Arden, the young wolf dragon prisoner who still shook with each breath. She stopped before Seraya and bowed her head. "My son was taken in the border raids," she said. "We were told dragons killed him." A dragon captain across the hall lowered his eyes. "We were told wolves stole our missing." Another freed prisoner, a girl with ember veins fading beneath her skin, whispered, "They kept us under both names." That truth moved through the hall like smoke. Neither side had only lost. Both sides had been used. Seraya looked at the freed prisoners, then at the armies still waiting for someone to tell them what peace was supposed to look like after so much rot had been dragged into daylight. She hated that they looked at her. She understood why they did. Caelum stepped beside her, not before her. "The prisoners will be named before both courts," he said. "Every family will know who was taken. Every collar found in Dragonlands will be destroyed. Every lord who funded Varric's work will stand public trial." The dragon lords shifted. "Good." The Night Wolf commander crossed his arms. "And the wolf houses who traded prisoners quietly." Several wolf elders stiffened. Elder Mara smiled without warmth. "They will bleed titles, too." The commander bowed his head. Caelum turned to him. "The treaty signed tonight is dead." A murmurose. Seraya's body went cold. Dead treaties made room for war. But Caelum continued, voice steady. "Not because peace is dead. Because peace bought with a woman in chains was never peace." The hall fell silent again. Seraya looked at him. He did not look away. There was apology in his eyes, but he did not offer it like a coin and expect forgiveness in return. He let it stand there, unpaid, unfinished. The Night Wolf commander studied him. "Then what do you offer?" Caelum's gaze moved to the broken table. "A new treaty. Written here. Witnessed by Moonbeast and Dragonblood. No living bond. No traded prisoners. No hidden collars. No woman, child, beast, or bloodline offered as payment." The commander's eyes moved to Seraya. "And her?" Caelum did not answer for hair. He looked at Seraya instead. Every court watched. There it was again. Choice. The most frightening gift anyone had ever given her. Seraya breathed carefully through the pain in her side. "I will not belong to the dragon court." Several dragon lords paled. She looked toward the wolves. "I will not belong to the night wolves either." The moonbeast lowered its head, accepting. Razakal did the same. Seraya touched the mark beneath her collarbone. "If I am the last night, dragon mate, then I will stand where the bond requires me. Between crowns when they lie, between beasts when they bleed, between armies when fear calls itself law." Her voice softened but did not weaken. "And if either kingdom tries to chain me again, I will break the treaty myself." For one breath. No one moved. Then Elda Maira knelt. The Night Wolf commander followed. A moment later, the dragon captain bowed. Not all at once. Not perfectly. Not out of love. Out of recognition. That was enough for Dawn. Caelum remained standing. Seraya turned to him. He looked tired now. Younger, somehow. Without the cold certainty he had worn like armor. His black gold cloak was torn. Blood marked the edge of his breastplate. The leather glove on one hand was split from the moment he had almost reached for her too late. "I have no right to ask you to return with me," he said. "No," she answered. The word hurt him. She saw it. He accepted it. "But if you ever choose to enter my court again," he said, "it will not be through the lower tower. It will not be in chains. It will not be as apology, curse, or treaty price." His voice lowered. "It will be through the front gates, with every dragon banner lowered in respect." Seraya held his gaze. "And you?" A faint, pained smile touched his mouth. "I will be outside those gates, waiting to ask whether I am allowed to walk beside you." The bond thread warmed between them. Not command. Not claim. Possibility. Seraya should have looked away. She did not. "You sold me," she said quietly. "I did. You feared me." "I did. You let another man turn your fear into my cage." Caelum's throat moved. "I did." No defense. No royal excuse. Seraya felt something inside her loosen, not forgiveness. Not yet. But the first unclenching of a wound no longer forced to scream alone. "Then earn every step," she said. Caelum bowed his head. Not as the Dragon King. As a man accepting the weight of what he had broken. "I will." Outside, the last war horn fell silent. The first true morning light spilled through the shattered roof and touched Razakal's torn wings. The freed dragon lifted his head and breathed gold fire, not in rage, but into the sky. The moon beast answered with a long silver howl that rolled down the mountain roads. Below Blackmere, soldiers lowered their banners. The witness circle faded from the treaty floor, but its mark remained carved into the stone. A dragon wing wrapped around a wolf moon. Seraya stepped away from the table. Pain struck her side, and this time she let Caelum steady her with one hand. Only one. Only because she chose it. Together, they walked toward the open hall. Not as lovers yet. Not as king and claimed mate. But as two wounded powers bound by a truth neither could escape, and neither would be allowed to own. Behind them, the Moonbeast and Razakel bowed their heads to the same dawn. For centuries, wolf and dragon had remembered only betrayal. Now they would have to remember her. Seraya of the Ash Towers. The cursed woman sold for peace. The night dragon mate who made both crowns answer. And as she stepped into the morning, the bond at her chest glowed not like a chain but like a road.